what the... I can't say that, can I? WTF-Cast, we'll go with that. So World of WTF-Cast, where we talk about everything WoW. But this episode is going to be specifically TBC again, carrying on really from our last week's episode. So today, I'm only joined by Stu. Say hello, Stu.
Hello, Stu.
There's always one. We was meant to have Crix here as well, the big brain warlock, who's also playing a lot on TBC servers at the moment. But we had quite a late night last night doing Karazhan till about 4 a.m. and he was quite drunk, and I have a feeling he's probably still in bed nursing a hangover, so we'll have to forgive him. So it's just myself and Stu today. And yes, classic Stu. So we're gonna look at basically the whole... There was a lot of debate around hashtag no changes and all that in Classic, and whether that's going to be the right way forward for TBC. Do we accept changes, or do we want it in its exact state that it was 15 years ago? So what's your thoughts, Stu? Just if we was to go really, without even going into any detail yet, by the end of this episode, do you think you're going to be part of the no changes crew, or some changes crew, or let's change it all?
Yeah, let's change it. Let's just change it. Change game. Change the whole thing. No, I'm only joking. I would... Yes, I think the quality of life things that came in, we won't go deep into them at the moment, but yeah, I will. I am part of the change things now, as I believe they should have in Classic. To be honest with you, but yes, I was part of that then. I will definitely be part of it in TBC.
Okay, perfect. So on the basis that this is episode 2, we don't need to do an intro. If you want to know our experience of the game, go and check out episode 1. Obviously, it's on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube. Yeah, you can pretty much find it anywhere. But so we're going to jump straight into just briefly explaining what sort of changes would we accept. So, I mean, I'll kick off, and I think one big quality of life change for me, which we was discussing on the stream earlier on actually, is dual spec. Dual spec didn't exist in TBC back in the day, but would we really be in uproar if they decided to add it now?
Personally, I don't know why it wasn't in Classic, but again, it's part of the whole hashtag no changes thing. But yes, I think absolutely it's a necessity in TBC on the basis that, there's a lot more classes that have viable specs. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agree.
Yeah, multiple specs. Paladins, for instance. Let's face it, all 3 of their specs are now viable. Whereas they wasn't before. In Classic, it was you was a holy paladin, or that really was it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if they don't, at least bring the price down, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, not having it at 50 gold. Well, that was another suggestion that we had in the stream today, was making it just free. So you can respec, you have to still go back to the trainer and all that, but it just removing the cost of it. I mean, what do you think about
that? Yeah. I just think 50 gold is ridiculous. It absolutely is ridiculous. And although obviously the gold thing with going into the next expansion, 50 gold is not as much as 50 gold is it? Do you know what I mean? Going into, because of the quests are so much more value, but still. It's just either dual spec or free. But I think if you've got dual spec, it was a big hit. Again, this is where I come from, that camp though, and this is where I'm not camp. I come from the hashtag yes I want changes camp.
I think that's just a camp you just made up a little bit yourself there, wasn't it?
yeah, it's my own camp. But yeah, just the whole. When you bought, surely that was a thing that they thought, do you know what? That's a great idea, isn't it? That's a great idea. Dual spec, give that to the people, and that was a great idea. Keep it in, put it in with the new stuff. Well, the old stuff that's been regurgitated, but now put it in that you forgot to put in the original one. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I know what you're saying. Yeah, so learn from all the expansions you've now put out and give us the stuff that we want.
Yes, yeah, that quality, and it's just the quality of life stuff. That is all. That's all it's about, really. So that's So what camp do you sit in?
Well, The free respec, my only sort of negative opinion there is then it does sort of remove any choices. So like you said, a paladin, all free specs are viable. Even though it's only quite a small decision to make if you've got dual spec, which 2 of the 3 you're going to have, it does at least makes the occasional need to respec still there. So, there still is some sort of gold sinks going on. So the economy, because it does help, losing that 50 gold from people when they want to respec, I'm sure it does in the long run economically make a difference to the server. But, and again,
it makes people have to at least try and get a bit more gold, don't it, I suppose?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it needs to be that much. But anyway, go on, carry on.
Yeah, so I think, if you think of a druid, for example, so are you going to PvP and PvE? So you might end up having two feral specs. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be like feral main and then have your off spec as resto, but then when you want to start healing, you're still going to have to respec. So it's not. Yeah, I'm all for not actually removing the cost, but just having dual spec. And I mean, even make it quite expensive. I mean, I can't remember back in the day. I thought it was like 1,000 gold or something like that to unlock dual spec. It was quite high when it first came out. Don't quote me on the exact number there because I've not looked it up, but I remember it being quite extortionate. So even having a high cost attached to it again could be a good way.
Yeah, I agree. And you're just sort of paying it forward, aren't you? I suppose then, to then get your dual spec. I just think it's a necessity. It just has to be. It's just one of those things that you wouldn't leave out. When did it come in? Was it Wrath?
Wrath of the Lich King, yeah, and I'm having multiple people confirm that it was 1k gold in Wrath.
Right. Yeah. I just think I just think it's needed, definitely. And as you say, with PvP and stuff like that, there's so many more things to do, and more specs to play in TBC that it's just I think it's a no-brainer, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. All right, so that's one change. Yeah, talents. What about the introduction of guild banks? When did that come? I know we've got it on sort of endless and private servers, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't in the game in TBC at launch.
Oh, right. Oh, okay. Again, that's why I'm getting really confused, because I'm confused most of the time anyway. But because we've been playing private servers and I'm seeing that there's a guild bank, I'm assuming there's a guild bank. So if that's the case and there isn't, again, it's one of those things that, they thought about later, and then it was like, that's a great idea. We could do with a guild bank instead of people having to make one and then post on whatever and go, look, this is what's in the guild bank. It's a guild. You've got a guild and people want to put stuff in it. It's one of those good ideas that they thought about too late and then implemented in a different, a later expansion. But now you've got that knowledge, why not just use it?
Yeah, I'm just getting people confirmed that it was actually 2.3. So if it was a 2.4.3 client we went into, then odds are guild banks will be there. So that's fine. Right. So that's not necessarily a change we need to worry about, because that would be there.
Take them away. We don't need them in TBC.
Just for the sake of changing, just get rid of them. What about a change for me? What I would say like quite a big one. What about looking for group tool? That's not in TBC, but would we want that in TBC? Think about Classic, they're having to travel to dungeons and, making groups, spamming in global or trade, trying to make groups for things it's something that I wouldn't mind. I know there's a lot of people that don't like the looking for group tool, but me personally, I don't see any downside to
it. No, I'm not particularly bothered about that. The whole travelling to turn that in TBC, you haven't. It's not a massive. It's not like Azeroth and Kalimdor, is it? The whole travelling. I'm thinking, stones. Do the stones become active in TBC? Again, I know they are on this private server. It would really depend on that for me.
Yeah. The stones will be working in TBC.
Right. Okay. Yeah. No. I just think the whole that keeps the community talking, don't it? When you're at least typing out. I don't mind that. I'm not really worried about looking for group. To be honest
What
with you.
about if it was more of the, not the tool, so not the looking for group actual tool where it, just gives you a group and sends you to a dungeon? What about if it was just the one where you like list your party, or you can look through people who are making groups and you can see, they've already got a tank, they've already got a healer. What about something like that instead, just to make making groups easier?
Yeah, I did like that actually. I forgot that they had that in for us for whenever that came in. Yeah, I think that's quite nice because at least you can see. I suppose you can see if you want to go on there. You can see if there's any groups that are actually up. I do think it's important to keep the channels being spoken in. Otherwise it all sort of dies. And we saw that. We saw that happen where. It went from a community-driven game to it sort of it fell off, and then you didn't have to talk to anyone anymore. It was like a single-player game.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, I would actually be on board with the group finder tool, and it seems that the chat's pretty unanimous as well. Actually, and on the stream, we're all saying the same thing. Something where you can find groups easily and list your group and all that sort of thing, but not the instant traveling.
Yeah, where it just puts you in a group and then boom, when it's ready, you're off.
Yeah, that would be that would be something I would be for. What about now? This is going to be quite, and again, these are just my thoughts, my opinions. There'll be a lot of people that won't want these things that we're talking about, obviously. But what about heirlooms? Could they bring heirlooms in TBC on the basis that the 1 to 60, even in TBC, it's had an XP reduction, it's had the XP from the quests has been increased as well, but it's still quite painful. Would some way of leveling a bit quicker be better? Would you welcome heirlooms if they said, we're going to add them?
Yeah, I think I would, to be honest with you, because let's face it, you have to do it all. You have to do it all once. You don't just get heirlooms straight away, do you? So you've got to go through everything, even if they made you go through it with 2 characters. Let's say if there was like what do you call it, like an achievement bit, where you got like, you had your first whatever level, then you had the duo achievement. Even if they made it like that sort of thing, so you had to play through twice before you could physically. I mean, there's so many things they could do, but I think that if you've committed and you've leveled from 1 to 70 and you've gone through it once. How many more times do you have to do it?
I agree.
Yeah, and again, that is only me personally. It's my opinion. It's and I don't mind leveling, to be honest with you. But I think I would be in favour some way. Again, like I say, I don't think they should just give it to you. You should have to work hard for it, and if it's achievement based, then somehow implementing it, but.
Well, that's another good point. So that's something that I used to absolutely love, and obviously that doesn't come till Wrath, is achievements. But bearing in mind, in the achievements panel, there's a lot of classic achievements, TBC achievements. So you almost have to go back to the old content just to get the achievements done. I mean, would it not? I mean, technically, I would have said they should have released achievements in classic, so you can work on your achievements as you go through the expansion, rather than waiting and then releasing it in Wrath, and now we've got to go back and do all this old content. Would you welcome achievements in TBC? I mean, I would.
Absolutely, as you say again, the achievements for some people, it's a big part of the game, and on the fact that you have to go back and do the whole the old content. Again, I just think it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. You've had it there. You thought about it. Oh, this will keep them immersed and keep things ticking along nicely. Have it from the word go, so that you could be building on these achievements and things like that. It's just, and I wasn't a massive fan of the achievements, but I know some people are. But it was probably because I had to go back and do all the old stuff again. It's like, well, come on, I've moved on. I'm like level 120 now.
Yeah, no, I agree totally. Do you know what? This is why I love having these conversations, because I hadn't even thought about how they could have done it better. In Classic, I didn't, but it does actually make sense. The achievement system, launching it when it's meant to be launched rather than actually putting a bit of thought in and being like, well, hang on, now all of a sudden we're getting a lot more sort of longevity out of the game as well. If achievements were in Classic at the moment, I would be no-lifing everything I could to get those achievements, because you know how hardcore I was on it, back in the day. So it would actually add a lot more content for people who want to go out hunting achievements. So yeah, I think that's something they should really, really seriously have a long think about before they just release TBC. I would definitely be getting achievements in.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Again, you're going to hear me say no-brainer a lot. It's a no-brainer.
It is a no-brainer, absolutely. So is there any other change? So they're the main ones for me, really. The main changes that I'd like to see would be dual spec, obviously dual spec, or some way of changing spec, cheap, whatever, but dual spec would be my preference. Achievements. To be honest, if I got those two, I'd be fairly happy. The throwing the heirlooms one in, that was just a bit more, well, what have we got? Like, let's not worry about what would be nice in TBC. What have we got in Mop? What did we have in, Draenor? What was there? Without taking the massive systems, So I'm not saying, oh, hey, it's TBC, let's bring in garrisons, but just the small quality of life stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, exactly. Everything you just listed.
Would you add anything else? Is there anything else that you can think of that you would like to see? When you log on retail, is there anything where you're like, oh, actually, that would be cool? Like mount a collection tab, for example, for your mounts and pets. Why have we not got that?
Yeah, that's true. Again, in it's that the fact of saying that in TBC, is it still? I suppose it is still in your bag, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be.
Yeah, it is still in your bag, and obviously you can start. It's TBC where you could really start getting multiple mounts. Obviously you could get all the different faction mounts, don't get me wrong, and the tiger and the raptor and all that in Classic. But really TBC's when it was like, you got the mount from Karazhan, the mount from TK. You can do the Neverwing farm and get them mounts, the Rays as well, the Never Ray mounts. You could really go around and farm quite a lot of mounts. And now what, you're going to sit and have those 10 to 12. Oh, Amani Warbear, thank you in the chat as well. There's multiple mounts that you might want to go and get. Are you really going to do that? I wouldn't do it purely just because of the bag space.
It's exactly
Ravenlord as
space. Well. And that would then go along with the whole. They go sort of hand in hand with the achievements, with the like the key ring that gets introduced. That all goes hand in hand, don't it? It's like one of those things. It's a quality of life thing. It just adds to the content. It adds to the content that's already there, in my opinion. And I just think, why not have it there? Why not put it in? I mean, you are regurgitating a game that you've already done, and then to say like, oh yeah, just no changes, I think it's ridiculous, to be honest with you. I'm not saying reinvent the wheel, but those little things that you added that was good and that everyone appreciated. I say everyone. I'm not speaking for everyone. This is only my opinion. But I just think I really think it makes sense, these little bits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I totally agree. And the thing is, it is, if you're going to, like when Ford, for example, made an Escort, and then when they brought out the Escort Mark II, surely they weren't just like, oh, just bring it out again, we'll do exactly the same. We know what the problems were, we know what people wanted, but ignore that, we'll just get as much money as we can and just basically remanufacture exactly the same car. No, they would have gone, oh, actually, this time round, people wanted aircon, let's put aircon in it, or, people wanted heated seats. It is about giving the people what they want. And that's the thing, if people don't want changes, like everybody was, hashtag no changes and all of that, then they're not going to do it. But at least if people do start talking about it now and saying, well, these are the things that would be nice to have in the game, because I don't think anyone is gonna be in that no changes camp anymore. Not with Classic, because if they are, then they're idiots. Because we got something that was good. Classic is good. Don't get me wrong, but it was all the no changes that's ruined certain aspects of it. Yeah.
As you say, I'll be a bit more diplomatic than just calling people idiots. But
I won't.
I'd like to know. I would love to know. You know, if you could literally ask 100 WoW players, and you said, like, look, come TBC, would you like to see dual spec, or wouldn't you? I'd love to know what that split would be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to see, because I would expect it to be in the high 90s, 90% at least. But who knows? You know, we don't all think the same. So I honestly don't know.
All right, so we'll leave it there in regards to sort of the changes that we would want. I mean, the next point is going to be quite close to it anyway, so they might overlap a little bit. But what do you've played on a few private servers now? I mean, I'm currently playing on Endless. I've tried that Entropia server that's not in a great place. And I'm now on Warmain, playing around on a bit of Wrath, you know, just to kill some time, because I've apparently got loads of it. But what do you see on private servers that they could potentially do? What could Blizzard do? I mean, again, I've got a few of my own sort of suggestions, but I'll let you go first. Is there anything that you've seen in, you know, Endless or somewhere like that where you're like, why a Blizzard? Why are they not looking at these private servers and seeing what they're doing right and just basically, you know, using their content?
Yeah, why are they just looking at their bank balance and not actually looking? Yeah, all right. I think what I see on the private server, how they've tried to balance the Horde and Alliance thing, how they've tried to say, well, hang on, you know, most people are playing Horde. We can't have that. Otherwise, that's a boring game. If we're just going to have 70% playing Horde. You know, and a lot of the time, like when we play Alliance, I'm sure we're playing Alliance just to balance the numbers, because we know everyone seems to play Horde. So we go, no, we won't play Horde, even though they've got the better racials. Forget it. I like what they've done with the whole, you know, just a little perk here and there, saying, yeah, and they must have done it for a reason. Let's face it, they didn't do it for nothing. They put that perk in there of, you know, like the little bit of extra faction, or it was, I think it was extra experience, weren't it, on the one we're currently on. Just those little things. If you're not going to change the racials, and you know that's you know, no, they're set in stone. We can't even, you know, the software programmers can't touch that. It's in stone. Then I think just some things like that where they could try to balance the numbers better. Well,
yeah, I mean, like Mike's just said in chat on the stream, so there's a server that's got 99% Horde in Classic. So there's 1% Alliance, 99% Horde. They literally, the Horde actually chill out in Ironforge.
That's a joke, surely.
No, it's real. So now, if Blizzard are quite happy to sit there and watch that, you know, knowing that could absolutely ruin a new player who's never played World of Warcraft before. They've come in to play Classic because they missed the boat, you know, 15, 16 years ago. That could ruin their experience completely. Because let's face it, these people who are new to the game, they're not gonna be researching online. Oh, what's the best server to go on? They're not gonna have a clue. They're gonna just pick one because they like the name of it, and then create a character. And if they create an alliance there because they like a little gnome with pink hair over, you know, a big ugly Tauren, that's a player lost. They're gonna quit because they're gonna be like, is this what they're all like? They're not gonna understand. So faction imbalance is not just detrimental, you know, in game to PvP, to balance and all of that. It can be detrimental to their bank balance because they could potentially lose subscribers over it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't hear that, to be honest with you. That 99%. I mean, come on. I mean, again, why have they got blinkers on? You know, where they can just see the bank balance and not actually focus and think, right, come on, we need to. Let's G this up a little bit. I mean, that speaks for itself. That speaks for itself. That there's, yeah, idiotic. If we're going to call anyone idiots, then it's Blizzard.
Yeah, I agree. So,
balance.
So what could they do then? What should they do different? I mean, there's really two options. So yeah, they either offer perks at certain times, you know, to the underrepresented faction, or they faction lock. So that they did put a percentage on it. So the maximum it could only ever be is 55-45, let's say, because that's not too bad. If it's a 5% in favour of one, you can live with that, can't you? But so you could potentially just faction lock it. So this server that's now got 55% horde, the only characters that can be created on there is alliance.
Yeah, but then I suppose you then got the issue if you say like, oh, all right, matey boy, do you want to come and play this new game with us that we're all playing? Oh, hang on, you can't come and play on our server because it's all locked up because we've got the maximum amount of horde, so we'll have to go and re-roll. I don't know how
that's a good point. No, that's a very good point.
I think more in the way of a perk, and as you say, it doesn't have to be permanent. It doesn't have to be a permanent perk. It can be, all right, these are balanced within your, if you say 45, it can be 45, 55 if it was like that, and then you say, okay, the perk's now removed, and then maybe if it started to go, all right, 70% horde, then the perk somehow they activate it again or something like that. I don't know.
It could almost be like a floating perk, if you like. So imagine the perk is, you've got a platform, what's it called, a seesaw. It's there, and every time the scales tip in favour of the other one, that perk moves over to them. So it could be it's always the same, but it will just float. Yeah, it will just float between alliance and horde.
Yeah. I think it's something. I think it's something that they should look at least. I mean, but anyway.
I mean, the other thing. I mean, for me, the thing that causes all the imbalance in the first place is racials. It's the usefulness of racials. I mean, would the best fit? Because if you remove racials, then all you're actually doing is creating a character based on aesthetics. How it looks, and that's how it should be, really. I mean, could they not just have the racials? Like the racials only work in open world. They don't work in raids or PvP. That then makes it, I'm talking, this could have been a change that they'd done years ago, but that would remove a lot of it, surely. But then the Alliance, I think, personally, but it is a personal opinion, are more aesthetically pleasing anyway. So would now, because there's no overpowered racials on the Horde, and the Alliance look a bit prettier and have nicer cities, would now everyone be Alliance instead of Horde?
Well, yeah, and there you go. That's what would help with some sort of seesaw system, some sort of seesaw perk system, so that when it's balanced, then there's no need for anything. When it starts tipping the one way, then you counteract it. It's just trying to counteract the balance. I
mean, one suggestion on the stream has been basically to add a logging queue. So it's what Karazhan are going to be doing when they launch on the 25th of July. So it'll only allow X amount of each faction on at the same time, let's say. So like we said, if we use 55 and 45 as an example, if there's more than 55% horde on there, then anyone who now tries to join will be in a logging queue. And the Alliance are getting straight in. That could potentially work, because now you're not telling your friends that they can't come and play with you, but you're at least warning them and saying, look, there is a lot more horde than Alliance, so sometimes we have queues in the evening.
Yeah. I mean, thinking about it as well, I mean, will the drain... See, I think the Draenei racial, that 1% hit, I think that's quite big. I do think that's a big racial.
It is.
Will that change? Was that their thinking? Did they think like, oh, well, we do need to do something here? That may have been their way of trying to combat it by saying, let's give them 1% hit.
Well, yeah. I mean, it is good, but even the Blood Elf racial is very good as well. Especially for PvP and AOE silence. So
PvP mainly, and it's still got its uses in PvE, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I don't know. The 1% hit is nice. Don't get me wrong, but
it still doesn't counteract Blood Fury or whatever it's called, and Berserking and
I mean, even when you think about what the PvP racials are for the Horde when in TBC, when they've got the Blood Elf racial as well, and then Undead with Will of the Forsaken, orcs being ridiculously difficult to stun because of their hardiness or whatever it's called. There's still more reason to, if you was going serious PvP, there's still more reason to play Horde than Alliance.
Yeah, definitely.
So, is there anything else from private servers that you know other than faction balance or ways to balance the faction? And we've spoken about dual spec and everything else. Is there any major things that they do right? I mean, we was talking about heirlooms. Could you literally just activate double XP or something like that, permanent rested XP for the previous expansion? Because no one really wants to do the 1 to 60 today. That's the thing that I'm going to struggle with when it comes to alts in TBC.
Yeah, and it is, and again, that could go along with the heirloom thing, couldn't it? You wouldn't mind as much if you could, just get some stuff on and just go and smash through the quests without any issues. But yeah, I don't know. It's all around. See, like the one we're on, again, to try and do the faction balance, that we get more rep, don't we? Which I think that's quite nice. I do actually think that's really nice, especially with how rep grindy TBC is. So that you can do the heroics and things like that. Well, that's quite a nice grind. Don't get me wrong. You're just doing dungeons. It's nice. It's not like you're going out and doing loads of quests. But still, getting them quicker. The quicker you get, revered, you get some nice items. You can then do heroic. I don't know whether the whole. I like that from a private server, but whether it should be implemented in TBC, I don't know. Again, maybe for a second character, so that you're not having to do that all again. And because again, that's what puts me off. It's like, oh, brilliant! I'll get another 70. Crikey, yeah, it's all right. I want to be alchemy. I've now got to go and do a load of dungeons, get revered again on everything, get the patterns. That's all a bit grindy.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, leveling's definitely not my scene. So I'll probably never have an ult in TBC. I'll just have my druid like I've got in Classic and nothing else.
Well, you'll probably have an ult, but it'll just be level 1.
Yeah, no, I'll get it to 2, probably. It might take me a week, but I'll get it to 2.
Yeah.
So we've only really got a few minutes. So I didn't want this to be too long anyway. But the last real big point I want to talk about is raid difficulty. So obviously Endless is overtuned. They've upscaled the difficulty just to make it more challenging. In Classic, You've seen what happened with the raids. They went straight in at 1.12, and Molten Core was just a joke. Blackwing Lair was a joke. Zolgara was a joke. What do you think they should do there?
I'm quite happy with how saying that. I'm talking about from the server that we play on. I mean, as you say, that's overtuned. Is it not going to be? Is it not going to be like that? Then I don't really know. Is it?
Well, if they go in at 2.4.3 and don't make any subtle changes, all of Tier 4 is going to be nerfed to the ground. So is Tier 5.
Right.
Tier 6 will have some nerfs as well, but Tier 6 will probably be where it starts to get a little bit difficult. And I mean minorly difficult.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of that. You play a game and you get gear and you do this stuff because you want it a little bit challenging, don't you? Again, from my opinion, like we've just had nerfs on this server, haven't we? Was it needed? I don't believe it was needed. Any of those nerfs. I mean, I would say we go in with, the 25-man stuff. We've been going in with, let's say half of the people that were geared, and probably half that weren't. I'm not a fan of just making everything really easy. No,
I mean they could, if they was to do 2.4.3, they just need to put everything pre-nerf and let's experience it. A decent challenge. It's still probably not going to be as hard as we currently playing on Endless. It's not going to be as difficult as that because that is really tuned quite high. I mean, even when the nerfs that they've done, it's still probably going to be harder than it will be in Classic. But like you say, some of the nerfs are just not needed. For example, Nightbane. being nerfed so the ads can be damaged by everyone instead of just physical and holy. I mean, that to me, that's just one of the only parts of the fight that's difficult, and they've just made it, I'm just running an AoE him down. Removing... I don't like removing difficulty. I don't even agree really with nerfs. Nerfing tier 4 when tier 5 comes out, nerfing tier 5 when tier 6 comes out. Technically, I know it's a bit of a catch-up mechanic, so other people who haven't been able to do it can now do it, but I'm not a fan. I would rather it just stay. It was set difficulty and it stays that difficult unless it's massively overtuned and they're like, right, no one can kill this, this is ridiculous. Then obviously you have to make changes. But why make it easier? Because technically, when you go from tier 4 to tier 5 and now you can get tier 5 gear, tier 4 is going to be naturally easier because you're going to have higher item level. And then the people who can't down the bosses, well, they need to have a good look at what they're doing and, change their guild up a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, and see, that's where I think the whole hashtag no changes lark could possibly be misconstrued. Yeah, hashtag no changes. Don't be making content easier, but quality of life, for Christ's sake. I don't want to have to run to every dungeon that I've run to a million times before.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the hashtag no changes should have its own little area of stuff. Don't change bosses, don't change do you know what I mean? But yeah, the don't it doesn't need to be easy. Crikey, you don't want the game easy, do you? You want every upgrade to mean something. Otherwise, when it doesn't, it takes away the game. When you're getting upgrades and it doesn't really mean anything. You're doing a little bit more DPS, but we was killing it anyway.
Yeah, exactly. No, yeah, I totally agree. So we're going to sum up then. We'll round off. So I don't think your stance has changed. We've had a good chat about all these different things that could be implemented, different, things that Blizzard could do differently this time round. And you're still in the give us the changes we want camp.
Definitely. Changes to our quality of life. But yeah, those sorts of things. Yeah, no changes to the actual gameplay. Yeah, gameplay, boss mechanics, things like that. Yeah, just give us dual spec.
Yeah, dual spec would be a good start. All right, cool. Well, yeah, and obviously I'm right there with you. Yeah, I'm in the I'd accept some changes, but just nothing that's ridiculous. But certainly, yeah, making our lives easier for me. Bring even more than dual spec. Give us the achievements. That would be my big one. If I could ask them to implement one thing out of everything that we could possibly have, achievements would be my number one.
Well, let's say 3. If you had 3, if they said to you, Scott, we are going to put in any 3 you want from any expansions that we've had, we're going to do it for you because you are a nice boy. All
right. In that case, 3 would be achievements, dual spec, and this is going to be a little bit of a unexpected one. Yeah, pet battles.
I knew it.
They're the 3 things that I would, from any expansion without going daft, because I liked the garrison system in Warlords of Draenor, but that was the whole expansion was around that, so that's stupid. But pet battles, I definitely, that can be brought in at any time. It doesn't need to wait till MOP or whenever it came in. There's critters running around all over the place now. Let's get our Pokemon on the go in WoW.
You want to get your snake out, don't you?
Yeah, I definitely want to get my snake out. So, we'll leave it there. That's cool. I'm going to go get my snake out.
Oh, lovely stuff. Nice to chat with you.
Yes, it's been splendid. So thanks for coming, and everybody on the stream, thanks for watching. And for those listening or watching it back on YouTube, check me out on twitch.tv/ScottyJ87, where we do this every Sunday. Peace out.